Most men think they understand what women really want when it comes to health, energy, and connection. But the truth is, many are missing some of the most important pieces. Here's the thing: women's health, emotions, and energy aren't random or mysterious. They're deeply connected to biology, hormones, and lifestyle choices. And understanding that isn't just about relationships, it's about becoming more aware, more compassionate, and ultimately healthier yourself. Because when men understand women better, they also tend to understand themselves better. A lot of men today are struggling quietly with low energy, lack of focus, poor sleep, and frustration that their body doesn't feel the way it used to. They might blame age or stress, but in reality, much of this comes down to imbalance. Imbalances in nutrition, recovery, and the way they approach their health. Men often think more is better: more work, more training, more pushing through. But that constant drive, without proper rest and nourishment, ends up draining their vitality. The result is fatigue, mood swings, and a growing sense of disconnection, not just from their partners, but from themselves. What most men don't realize is that true strength comes from balance. Your hormones, your recovery, your nutrition, they all work together. And when you understand that women's health operates on similar principles, it gives you perspective. Women's hormones fluctuate in cycles, which means their energy, mood, and focus shift naturally throughout the month. That's not weakness, that's biology at work. Men, on the other hand, have a more stable daily hormone rhythm, but that also means when things go off track due to poor sleep, stress, or diet, the effects can be even more noticeable. Learning about these differences builds empathy, not frustration, and it helps you approach health with more intelligence and less guesswork. If you're a man who wants to improve your energy, your focus, and your understanding of the people around you, it starts with simple habits. Prioritize sleep. Manage your stress before it manages you. Eat in a way that supports your hormones, not works against them. Strength training, real food, consistent movement, and proper recovery aren't just about building muscle. They're about building resilience. Your body is designed to thrive when it's given the right inputs. The same goes for your relationships. When you're balanced, you show up calmer, clearer, and more connected. So, before trying to figure out what women want, start by understanding what your own body needs. When you build a foundation of physical health, emotional awareness follows. That's when communication improves, patience grows, and confidence naturally returns. Understanding women starts with understanding yourself, and that's where real strength begins. Understanding biological and hormonal differences builds empathy and connection in a way that most people underestimate. In relationships, both personal and professional, a lot of frustration comes from assuming that everyone operates the same way, that what works for one person should naturally work for another. But biology doesn't work like that. Men and women are wired differently on a physiological level, and those differences affect energy, mood, focus, and even motivation. When men begin to understand those natural variations, it doesn't just improve communication, it strengthens respect and connection. Rather than seeing differences as obstacles, they begin to see them as opportunities to better understand how people function, respond, and thrive. For men, one of the most important realizations is that women's biology operates on a rhythm that's different from their own. Men typically have a 24-hour hormone cycle, with testosterone levels peaking in the morning and gradually declining throughout the day. This is why men often feel their most alert, motivated, and physically strong early in the day. Women, however, operate on a roughly 28-day hormonal cycle that shifts through phases, each affecting energy, mood, and focus differently. During the follicular phase, for example, energy is higher, the body is more responsive to exercise, and motivation increases. Later, in the luteal phase, energy might dip slightly, and the body may crave more rest or comfort. These fluctuations aren't weaknesses or mood swings. They're biological patterns that have evolved over millions of years. When men understand this, They stop misinterpreting normal biological changes as inconsistency or emotional instability. Instead, they learn to appreciate that these shifts are part of how the female body maintains balance and health. This knowledge builds empathy. It creates space for understanding rather than judgment. It also deepens connection because it encourages men to listen more and react less. In relationships, that awareness can transform communication. When a man knows that energy and mood shifts might be linked to hormonal rhythms, he's more likely to approach with patience and curiosity instead of frustration or confusion. That mindset changes everything. It builds trust. The same principle applies to men's own biology. While their hormone cycle is shorter and more stable, it's still affected by lifestyle factors such as sleep, stress, diet, and exercise. Chronic stress, for example, elevates cortisol levels, which in turn lowers testosterone and disrupts energy, focus, and motivation. Poor sleep can do the same, throwing off the delicate hormonal balance that supports strength and mood. By understanding these biological mechanisms, men can take a more informed approach to their health instead of relying on guesswork. Knowledge becomes a tool for prevention rather than reaction. This biological awareness also helps men navigate conversations around health and well-being with women in a more supportive way. Many women experience fatigue, mood changes, or physical symptoms tied to hormonal fluctuations, yet these topics are often misunderstood or minimized. When a man understands that these experiences are rooted in biology, he can respond with empathy instead of criticism. That doesn't mean he needs to fix anything. It means he can listen, acknowledge, and support. And that's one of the most powerful ways to build emotional connection. Empathy isn't about having the same experience. It's about understanding the experience of another person enough to meet them where they are. In a broader sense, understanding biological differences enhances teamwork and community as well. In workplaces or fitness environments, awareness of hormonal and energy variations can lead to more effective collaboration. For instance, recognizing that not everyone operates best at the same time of day or under the same conditions helps create flexibility. It removes unnecessary pressure and fosters cooperation instead of competition. This kind of understanding leads to better outcomes for everyone because it respects how the human body truly works. Education plays a big role in building this awareness. For generations, discussions about hormones or biological differences have been oversimplified or avoided altogether. Men are rarely taught how hormones influence energy, emotion, or motivation, not in themselves and certainly not in women. The result is a widespread lack of understanding that leads to miscommunication and frustration. But when education fills that gap, everything changes. Men start seeing patterns where they once saw confusion. They start recognizing that biology isn't an excuse, it's information. It tells you how to align your habits, behaviors, and expectations in a way that supports both yourself and those around you. Empathy also strengthens confidence. When you understand how the body works, your own and others, you stop taking things personally. You realize that not every reaction, change in energy, or difference in behavior is about you. This awareness creates emotional stability and maturity. It helps you navigate relationships with less tension and more patience. Confidence rooted in understanding is steady. It doesn't waver in the face of small misunderstandings. Instead, it's grounded in the awareness that everyone's body, mind, and emotions are influenced by internal rhythms. This kind of biological awareness doesn't only benefit relationships, it also enhances personal growth. When men understand the influence of hormones on energy and performance, they can optimize their routines accordingly. For example, aligning intense workouts with natural peaks in testosterone and energy leads to better results and faster recovery. Likewise, being mindful of rest and nutrition when energy dips helps maintain consistency over time. Understanding biology isn't about limitations, it's about optimization. It's about using what you know to get the best out of yourself and others. Empathy grows when you recognize that biology isn't just science, it's part of being human. Every person you meet has a unique internal rhythm that shapes how they think, feel, and act. When you approach others with that awareness, judgment fades and compassion increases. In relationships, that means fewer arguments and more understanding. In teams, it means better collaboration. And in life, it means stronger connections built on respect instead of assumption. One of the most powerful things about learning biological and hormonal differences is how it reshapes perspective. Instead of seeing people as unpredictable, you start to see patterns and understand the logic behind them. You realize that moods, energy, and focus aren't random. They're the body's way of maintaining balance. This awareness leads to better communication because instead of reacting emotionally, you can respond intelligently. You can offer support at the right time, give space when needed, and engage in meaningful ways that build trust and harmony. The end result of this awareness is deeper connection that goes beyond words. It's a kind of understanding that shows up in everyday actions. Patience when energy is low, encouragement when motivation dips, and presence when emotions run high. These small, intentional behaviors make a huge difference. They strengthen relationships, build respect, and create environments where both people feel seen and understood. Understanding biological and hormonal differences isn't just about science. It's about humanity. It teaches you that everyone operates within a system of rhythms, needs, and responses that deserve respect. When men learn this, they not only become better partners or friends, they become more grounded, empathetic, and aware individuals. They stop fighting against what they don't understand and start working with it. That's the key to real connection, awareness rooted in empathy, and empathy guided by knowledge. When you combine those two things, you build relationships and communities that are not just healthier, but genuinely stronger. Men's health and energy depend on balance, not constant overexertion. And that's one of the hardest lessons for many men to accept. From a young age, men are often taught to push through exhaustion, to work harder, lift heavier, and never slow down. The cultural message is clear: effort equals strength, rest equals weakness. But biology tells a different story. The human body, especially the male body, is designed to perform best when it's given both challenge and recovery, stimulation and rest. Pushing nonstop without balance doesn't build strength. It breaks it down. Over time, the body and mind begin to show the cost of constant overexertion through fatigue, irritability, loss of motivation, and declining health. True power comes from knowing when to go hard and when to step back, not from constantly running on empty. When a man operates in a state of constant stress, whether physical or mental, his body responds with elevated cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol itself isn't bad. It helps regulate energy and alertness. But when it stays high for too long, it disrupts nearly every other system in the body. It suppresses testosterone production, impairs muscle recovery, and weakens the immune system. Sleep becomes lighter and less restorative, appetite becomes irregular, and mood begins to fluctuate. The irony is that the very traits men value, discipline, focus, consistency, start to erode under the pressure of unrelenting effort. The body can't thrive in survival mode forever. At first, it adapts, but over time, it compensates by slowing down processes like metabolism and hormone regulation to protect itself. What feels like pushing forward is often actually a slow decline. Balance doesn't mean laziness. It means understanding rhythm. Just as the heart beats with a pattern of contraction and relaxation, the body needs cycles of exertion and rest. That balance allows for adaptation and growth. In fitness, muscles don't grow during the workout. They grow during recovery, when the body repairs the microtears caused by training. In life, the same principle applies. Mental focus sharpens when you allow time for stillness. Emotional resilience strengthens when you step back and breathe, instead of reacting immediately. Balance isn't the opposite of effort. It's what makes effort sustainable. One of the biggest misconceptions men face is that more is always better. More hours at work, more time in the gym, more caffeine to stay awake. But performance doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing the right things consistently. Overtraining, undereating, and undersleeping are silent killers of energy and drive. A man who constantly pushes without recovery begins to experience burnout, not only physically but also mentally. His workouts feel harder, his motivation declines, and even simple tasks start to feel like heavy lifting. His relationships might suffer because he becomes impatient, distracted, or emotionally distant. Balance is not about slowing down permanently. It's about pacing yourself intelligently so you can stay strong long term. The foundation of balance starts with sleep. Quality sleep is where testosterone production peaks, where muscle tissue rebuilds, and where the brain clears out waste that accumulates during the day. Men who sacrifice sleep for productivity or training often find themselves in a cycle of diminishing returns. They work harder but achieve less because their body never fully recharges. Getting 7 to 8 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep isn't a luxury. It's a requirement for optimal hormone function and mental clarity. Rest is not wasted time. It's the most effective performance enhancer you have. Nutrition is another key factor in maintaining balance. Many men underestimate how much proper nourishment affects energy, mood, and focus. Skipping meals, relying on processed food, or under eating while training hard can deplete the body's reserves. Protein is essential not just for muscle repair, but also for hormone synthesis. Healthy fats support brain function and hormone balance, while complex carbohydrates provide steady energy. A balanced diet doesn't mean restriction. It means giving your body the raw materials it needs to perform and recover. Food should fuel performance, not sabotage it. When your body gets the nutrients it needs, energy stabilizes, cravings decrease, and your ability to handle stress improves dramatically. Another critical component of balance is managing stress. Many men ignore emotional and psychological stress, focusing only on physical output. But stress is cumulative. The body doesn't distinguish between physical strain and emotional pressure. Both activate the same stress response, elevating cortisol and draining energy. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, time in nature, or simply disconnecting from constant digital stimulation can make a massive difference. Managing stress doesn't mean avoiding challenges. It means learning to reset your nervous system so you can respond with clarity instead of exhaustion. Movement itself should be balanced too. There's a time for intensity, heavy lifting, high-intensity workouts, and pushing limits. But there's also a need for mobility, walking, stretching, and active recovery. Constant high-intensity training without variation leads to chronic fatigue and joint pain. The best performers, athletes, soldiers, and professionals understand the value of strategic rest. It's what allows them to maintain peak performance for years instead of burning out in months. Recovery is where the body adapts. Without it, you're just breaking yourself down. Mental balance is equally important. The constant drive to achieve can lead men to measure their worth solely by productivity or physical appearance. But real confidence comes from feeling grounded, knowing who you are beyond what you do. When men tie their identity to output, they become vulnerable to burnout and disappointment. Learning to slow down, reflect, and connect with values outside of work or performance helps build resilience. Taking time to recharge mentally, reading, spending time with loved ones, engaging in hobbies, restores energy and perspective. It's not indulgence, it's maintenance for the mind. Another overlooked aspect of balance is social connection. Isolation increases stress and decreases longevity. Building relationships with people who encourage growth rather than competition or comparison provides emotional stability. Having a strong support system, friends, mentors, family, reduces the burden of stress and creates a sense of belonging. When men surround themselves with positive influences, they're more likely to make healthier choices and stay consistent in their goals. Balance isn't only physical, it's relational and emotional too. Hormonal health also thrives on balance. Testosterone, the primary male hormone, isn't just about muscle or libido. It's about energy, focus, and motivation. Chronic overexertion, sleep deprivation, and poor nutrition can all suppress testosterone levels, leading to fatigue, weight gain, and irritability. Men often try to push through this with willpower, but biology always wins. The way to restore vitality is not through shortcuts, but through sustainable habits. Proper sleep, nutrient dense food, stress management, and balanced physical activity. When testosterone and cortisol are in harmony, the body functions at its best, strong, sharp, and steady. Finding balance doesn't mean doing less, it means doing smarter. It's about respecting your body's signals and responding accordingly. If you're constantly tired, that's not weakness, it's feedback. If your motivation is low, it might not be a lack of discipline, but a sign that your recovery is inadequate. The body communicates through fatigue, soreness, and mood changes. Listening to those signals is not giving up. It's strategy. It's how you ensure longevity and sustained performance. At the end of the day, balance is the difference between thriving and surviving. A man who chases constant intensity eventually burns out. A man who learns balance, who understands the value of recovery, nutrition, rest, and emotional well-being, builds strength that lasts a lifetime. He performs better, thinks clearer, and connects more deeply with those around him. True masculinity isn't about endless output. It's about mastery over your energy, your emotions, and your habits. Balance is power disguised as patience, and those who embrace it don't just live longer, they live better. Strength, nutrition, and recovery are three pillars that form the foundation of true vitality, yet many people only focus on one or two of them while ignoring the rest. You can't build lasting health by overemphasizing one and neglecting the others. True strength is not only about muscle size or the number of weights you lift. It's the ability of your body to function efficiently, to adapt to stress, and to sustain energy throughout the day. Nutrition is not just about eating less or cutting out certain foods. It's about fueling your body with the nutrients that allow it to perform repair and grow. Recovery, often the most overlooked element, is the process that allows all your hard work to actually pay off. Without recovery, strength and nutrition don't matter because your body never has the chance to rebuild itself stronger than before. These three components work together in harmony, creating a balanced system that supports both physical and mental performance. Many men believe that training harder will automatically lead to better results. But that's a misunderstanding of how the human body works. The act of training itself is a form of stress. It breaks down muscle fibers and challenges your cardiovascular system. That stress only becomes beneficial when the body has time and resources to recover. Strength training is essential, but it's just the trigger for growth, not the result. Growth happens during the hours and days afterward when the body repairs and adapts. If you keep training without rest or proper nutrition, you're simply layering stress on top of stress, which leads to fatigue, injury, and hormonal imbalance. The smartest athletes and the healthiest individuals understand that recovery is not a sign of weakness. It's an investment in future strength. Nutrition is the second crucial piece of this equation. What you eat provides the building blocks for everything your body does: muscle repair, hormone production, brain function, and immune defense. A balanced diet rich in protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates fuels performance and supports recovery. Protein provides amino acids that rebuild muscle tissue after exercise. Fats support hormone balance and brain health. Carbohydrates replenish glycogen stores, ensuring your body has enough energy for the next workout or demanding day. Neglecting nutrition is like trying to build a house without materials. You might have the energy to start, but you'll never finish strong. Eating with intention isn't about restriction. It's about alignment, giving your body what it actually needs to thrive. Many men still fall into the trap of eating or following extreme diets that promise quick results. The problem with these approaches is that they create short-term change but long-term damage. When you deprive your body of essential nutrients, metabolism slows down, muscle mass declines, and energy levels drop. Hormonal health also suffers, especially testosterone production, which depends on adequate intake of dietary fats and overall calories. The goal should never be to eat less, but to eat smarter. To choose foods that nourish your body and stabilize your energy. A plate filled with lean proteins, colorful vegetables, whole grains, and healthy fats does more for your performance and appearance than any restrictive fat ever could. Strength itself is more than what you do in the gym. It's about how your body supports you in daily life. It's the ability to carry groceries, play with your kids, climb stairs without losing breath, or maintain good posture throughout the day. Strength training improves muscle density, bone health, and metabolic rate, but it also builds confidence. When you feel physically strong, it changes the way you carry yourself and the way you handle challenges. The key is consistency, not intensity. A few structured workouts each week, combined with daily movement, walking, stretching, staying active, create a strong and resilient body that lasts a lifetime. Recovery is where the magic happens. It's not just about taking a day off. It's an active process that includes quality sleep, hydration, and stress management. During sleep, growth hormone levels rise, repairing muscles and restoring energy. When you cut sleep short, you interrupt this process, and your performance the next day suffers. Hydration supports nutrient transport, joint lubrication, and temperature regulation. Even slight dehydration can lead to fatigue and decreased focus. Managing stress through breathing exercises, mindfulness, or light activity keeps your nervous system balanced, allowing your body to switch from a constant fight or flight state to one of repair and renewal. Recovery is where your body rebuilds, and if you skip it, you never give yourself the chance to reach your potential. There's also a mental side to strength, nutrition, and recovery that often gets overlooked. Mental fatigue can be just as damaging as physical fatigue. When your mind is constantly occupied with stress, worry, or overcommitment, your body reacts as if it's under physical strain. That's why practices that calm the mind, such as meditation, time outdoors, or disconnecting from technology, play an important role in overall recovery. Your body follows your mind. If your mind is tense, your body can't relax enough to rebuild. Strength begins with intention, and that intention should include rest just as much as work. The relationship between these three elements is cyclical. Strength training creates the stimulus. Nutrition provides the materials for repair. Recovery allows adaptation. Then the next cycle begins, but each one builds on the last. When all three are aligned, progress becomes sustainable and long-lasting. You gain not only muscle and endurance, but also energy, focus, and emotional balance. You begin to feel more capable in every area of life because your body and mind are functioning in sync. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. Small, steady actions over time yield massive results. Ignoring any one of these pillars leads to imbalance. Too much training without enough recovery leads to fatigue and injury. Eating poorly undermines all the effort you put into exercise. Recovering without training leads to weakness. The body is a system. It needs balance to thrive. Men who learn to respect this balance often find that not only their physical performance improves, but so does their confidence, patience, and overall outlook on life. They wake up feeling energized instead of drained, motivated instead of overwhelmed. A sustainable approach to health isn't built on extremes, it's built on understanding. Strength gives you the power to take action. Nutrition gives you the fuel to sustain it. Recovery gives you the ability to keep going. Together, they form a complete picture of health that goes beyond appearance or performance. It's about longevity, clarity, and vitality. When you take care of your body through these principles, you're not just adding years to your life, you're adding life to your years. Ultimately, true vitality doesn't come from how hard you push yourself, but from how well you care for yourself. When strength, nutrition, and recovery are aligned, the result is balance, a body that feels powerful, a mind that stays sharp, and a spirit that remains calm under pressure. This is the kind of strength that lasts, not just in your 20s or 30s, but well into your 50s, 60s, and beyond. It's not about chasing perfection, it's about mastering the fundamentals and respecting the natural rhythm of your body. When you learn to work with your body instead of against it, you don't just get stronger, you become unstoppable. Self awareness and emotional understanding are often overlooked in conversations about health, especially men's health. Society tends to emphasize physical strength, endurance, and discipline, while emotional awareness is treated as optional or even a weakness. But the truth is, self awareness is one of the strongest tools a person can develop. It's the ability to understand not just how your body feels, but also why you feel the way you do, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Emotional understanding allows you to navigate stress, relationships, and challenges with composure instead of reactivity. Without it, even the healthiest body can feel drained, unfulfilled, or disconnected. Real strength is not just about muscles. It's about mastering the inner dialogue that drives every choice, reaction, and habit. When you develop self-awareness, you begin to see patterns in your behavior and health that you might have ignored before. You start noticing how certain habits affect your energy, how different people influence your mood, and how your body responds to stress or rest. This awareness turns into power because it gives you the ability to make adjustments instead of operating on autopilot. Many men live in a state of constant motion, working, training, chasing goals, but rarely pause to reflect on how they feel in the process. They push through fatigue, ignore tension, and label emotions as distractions. But emotions are data, not disruptions. They reveal what your body and mind need. When you feel irritated, it might be a sign of exhaustion or unmet needs. When you feel anxious, it could point to overcommitment or lack of recovery. By listening to those signals, you begin to align your lifestyle with what truly supports your well-being instead of fighting against yourself. Emotional understanding also changes the way you relate to others. When you understand your own emotions, you become more empathetic toward those around you. You can recognize when someone is struggling, even if they don't say it out loud, because you've learned to read the same cues in yourself. Relationships thrive when there's emotional awareness because communication becomes clearer and less reactive. Instead of responding with defensiveness or anger, you start to respond with curiosity and calmness. This doesn't make you soft. It makes you steady. It's what separates impulsive reactions from thoughtful responses. And that distinction can completely transform how you show up in your relationships, whether at home, at work, or in your community. There's a deep connection between emotional health and physical health. Chronic stress, unresolved anger, and suppressed emotions can all manifest physically through muscle tension, digestive issues, fatigue, or even chronic pain. The mind and body are not separate systems. They are two sides of the same coin. When the mind is overwhelmed, the body carries the burden. That's why managing emotional health is just as important as eating well or exercising. Learning to process your emotions doesn't mean overanalyzing every thought. It means allowing yourself to feel and then release. That might involve journaling, talking with a trusted friend, meditating, or simply taking a walk to clear your head. The act of acknowledging what you feel reduces its power over you. Self-awareness also sharpens decision-making. When you're aware of your internal state, you can make choices based on clarity rather than impulse. Many poor decisions, whether about diet, relationships, or lifestyle, come from acting out of stress, boredom, or ego instead of intention. Emotional understanding helps you pause before reacting. It gives you space to ask, what do I really need right now? Rather than, what do I want in this moment? That small pause can change everything. Over time, these mindful decisions compound into better health, stronger relationships, and a more grounded sense of self. Men often grow up hearing messages like, toughen up, or don't let emotions get in the way, but that conditioning can create emotional disconnection. Suppressing feelings doesn't make them disappear. It just drives them deeper, where they turn into resentment or anxiety. Emotional strength isn't about avoiding vulnerability, it's about facing it head on with honesty. The ability to say, I'm tired, I need a break, or I'm struggling doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. And authenticity builds resilience because you're no longer pretending to be invincible. You're allowing yourself to be human. And that's where true confidence comes from. In relationships, emotional understanding is what separates connection from coexistence. Many men struggle in relationships not because they lack care, but because they lack the tools to express it. Learning to communicate your needs, listen actively, and validate your partner's experience are skills that strengthen emotional intimacy. When men develop emotional intelligence, they become more dependable, more trustworthy, and more connected. It's not about being overly emotional, it's about being emotionally available. A strong man is one who can stay composed in conflict, grounded in uncertainty, and compassionate when others are struggling. Those are the qualities that create lasting bonds and meaningful connections. Self-awareness also influences your sense of purpose. When you understand your motivations and values, you begin to align your daily actions with what truly matters to you. Many men chase success or validation without realizing that they're pursuing someone else's definition of fulfillment. Self-awareness helps you separate external expectations from internal truth. It allows you to build a life that feels authentic, not performative. When your actions match your values, you experience a sense of peace and direction that no achievement alone can provide. Purpose isn't found in what you do, it's found in how consciously you do it. Developing emotional understanding takes practice. It requires slowing down enough to notice what's happening inside you. Start with small moments throughout the day. Check in with yourself before big meetings, workouts, or conversations. Ask, how am I feeling right now? And what do I need? It might sound simple, but those questions build awareness over time. As you develop that awareness, you'll begin to notice how certain environments, people, or habits affect your mood and energy. That insight allows you to make better choices about where to invest your time and attention. You start living proactively instead of reactively. Emotional awareness also helps you handle setbacks more effectively. When you know yourself, you can see challenges as feedback rather than failure. You understand that emotions like frustration or disappointment are temporary, not defining. This mindset keeps you resilient in the face of adversity. Instead of giving up or spiraling into negativity, you use those emotions as signals to adjust your approach. That's emotional maturity, the ability to feel deeply without being controlled by what you feel. In the end, self-awareness and emotional understanding create balance. The same kind of balance that physical health requires. When your mind and body are aligned, you move through life with greater ease and confidence. You're not constantly fighting yourself or reacting to external chaos. You're centered, grounded, and intentional. That's what true health looks like. It's not just the absence of disease, but the presence of harmony between how you think, feel, and act. When men begin to cultivate emotional intelligence, they unlock a deeper kind of strength, one that doesn't fade with age or depend on physical ability. It's the strength of composure, clarity, and connection. It's what allows you to build meaningful relationships, sustain energy, and live with purpose. Real power isn't about domination or control. It's about mastery over yourself. And when you reach that point, when you understand yourself deeply and respond to life with awareness, you don't just live stronger, you live wiser.